Today, we'll be taking on the ultimate challenge in the F1 25 game, doing a 78-lap race of the Monaco Grand Prix against the hardest difficulty, no assists, simulation damage, driving as Lewis Hamilton. Did I also forget to mention I'll be starting from the back as well, so we can test the AI, we can see what the gameplay is truly like on this game, and it's always a favorite of mine to boot up a new F1 game and put everything to the ultimate test, including myself. Let's get this race underway. Please leave a like and subscribe, and let's see if we can win the race, starting from last.
You can feel the tension in the air as we move into race day here in Monaco. It's a track that requires the full concentration of the drivers with zero margin for error. It tests their skills to the absolute limits, so no wonder it remains a fan favourite.
And just as well, in case you were wondering, this is the mandatory two-stop race at Monaco. So I'm quite keen to see how this is going to work with everyone playing fair.
All right, let's have a quick radio check, please. Radio check.
Radio check.
I love the extra radio intermissions by the drivers, by the team principals, before races, at the end of races. I think it just adds that nice little touch of authenticity. But in terms of this race, we are going to be starting on the soft compound tires. We're also running with a default setup. The one of the presets, it's the maximum downforce one in which you would naturally expect to race at Monaco with. We're starting on the softs, and we're going to try and make...
Your pit window doesn't open for more than 20 laps.
We're going to try and make some early places, and maybe even an early undercut. Let's have a listen for this race start. Five red lights, and we are off, and I had such a good start, but had nowhere to go. Both the V-carb cars kind of boxing me in before heading into turn one, so I had to play it nice and safe there. We are running with simulation damage, so we do have to be careful with the amount of contact that we do make with not only our competitors, but the walls as well. We will have to be leaning on the walls a little bit if we want to extract maximum pace out of this. Oh my words. Contact with Lawson, thankfully no damage for us so far. This is all one big test. This is one of the first videos I make on F1 25, so putting the damage model to the test, putting the AI to the test, putting myself to the test, and just seeing if we can survive, really. I remember the very first 100% race I ever did was at Monaco on the F1 2013 game, and we managed to survive that and had a really good race. So it's always been somewhat of a tradition almost every year since then, and it's one I'd like to continue for as long as we can, especially while Lewis is still in the sport. But first lap has been pretty successful. Some scary moments here and there. Lawson turning across us. There was another car hitting the apex literally before, it was at Portier, before the tunnel. And yeah, through all of that, we managed to pick up a couple of positions as well, which has been nice and handy. Mercedes not having a good qualifying. Maybe this is quite realistic of what you see from real F1. Antonelli down in P16 and has it all to do. I hope the Mercedes have a better switched on strategy in this Grand Prix. Having a little look up the inside of Antonelli. Does leave the door open there, so here's the replay. I'm not sure I really had any business sticking my nose up there, but I thought I'd test and see the patience of Antonelli. Would he turn across me? He left the door open, so we went for the gap, and you know, we've got to strike while we can. These soft compound tires are only going to be good for about 5 or 10 laps, to be honest, before the hards really start to accelerate and romp away. Even those in worse cars than us should be able to pull away. So we'll see how we go. We're trying to look after our rear tires. I've made a couple of lazy bits of contact with Gasly in the last few seconds, and I've got to say already, simulation damage doesn't look like it's as sensitive as what it was on previous games. I think for sure if this was F1 24, I'd already have some front wing damage by now. But also, I also want to say, I feel like the hitbox has changed somewhat as we get a lovely switchback on Pierre Gasly heading into the last corner. That was absolutely sublime. But I feel like the front of the car is a little bit longer than what it was last game, even though it really shouldn't be any different. To my eyes, I feel like I'd be able to get closer without making contact. Hence why there was those moments of weird contact between myself and the car ahead. So a couple of differences there we've noticed already. Another thing which you'll notice throughout the F125 game life cycle is the dirty air. We'll get back to that in a second. We go around the outside of Oliver Behrman and into P13. Quite happy with that one.
Okay, good work. Great pass.
And my engineer seems to agree so far. I think Lewis has fired Riccardo Ademi and has got Mark Priestley on board instead, linking up with his former McLaren I guess engineer there, and we leave a couple of tire marks on the track there. Lovely stuff. I would like to see the authentic driver engineer radios for each car in future. I understand that this is a game and all that, but it would be nice to have that extra step in future. Maybe that's where EA and F1 are looking to strive to go at this point, but might take us a couple of years to get there. But yeah, I mean, dirty air is quite prominent. Not so much at a track like Monaco, as we pull off an outrageous dive bomb on the Kick-Sauber, which in the Spanish Grand Prix, only just today that I'm filming this, Hulkenberg was the one overtaking Hamilton in that race. And we're pulling the opposite here today with a nice little move there with the soft compound tyres. We certainly have much more mechanical grip at this stage, even in the Ferrari, which is a quicker car. The softs are holding on fairly nicely at this stage. We try to give each other as much space as possible. It is so hard to go side by side through there. As we see the Hulkenberg on board, he actually cuts the corner. And I don't really blame him for that, to be honest, given the tightness of, you know, the walls here at Monaco. There's nowhere really for him to go unless he completely backs out and lose another second or two. I think that's just about fair game, but there's certainly going to be some use cases where that's not allowed, especially if the AI we're behind heading into the corner. But we've decided to pull ourselves out of that battle, and it's time for new tyres. We're going to go on to mediums, and we're going to test this compound instead. I was feeling that my softs were starting to die off a little bit, despite how quick we were compared to the AI. It was getting to a point where I was really having to push just to kind of stay with them. So now, we switched early onto the medium tyres. Luckily, with our poor track position, it meant that there was no one really behind us that we'd get blocked by once we do make a pit stop. But at this point now, as we are coming into traffic, these guys have 20 lap old soft and medium compound tyres. In fact, Bortoletto right in front of me has hard compound tyres, so the delta between my tyres and his tyres is going to be absolutely enormous as we have another little look up the inside into Rascasse. And yeah, I mean, the difference in pace here is absolutely crazy. I want to say we're probably about 2 or 3 seconds a lap quicker, maybe even more, than these guys around us. New tyres on F125 is worth so much. The tyre wear is so much higher than what it was on previous games, and that opens up strategy so much more. To the point where, even if there wasn't a 2-stop at Monaco mandated, you would probably wanting to do a 2-stop anyway around this track. A 1-stop is just far too slow in a long distance race like this, that you just would feel horrible having to make those tyres stretch the whole Grand Prix. But we're certainly making hay while the sun shines now. Setting a couple of faster slaps on our way to catching up to Lawson again, who did have that sketchy moment with us on lap 1. It's another very close moment into Rascasse, up to P17 now. But yeah, we're certainly a long way away from the likes of Oscar Piastri, who was in P1 in this race, Max Verstappen in P2. I can actually hear a couple of the boats honking in the background as we try and go around the outside of Antonelli. We're trying to do an Antonelli to Antonelli at Portier, but unlike Bortoletto, Antonelli gets space on the exit of that corner, and we move up to P16 in this race. A quarter of the way through this race, and this is where, you know, we're really going to start making massive inroads on the guys around us. These are all people we overtook before, but they're just on even older tyres than what they were on earlier. So we're going to be in some pretty good track position by the time everyone boxes here. I'm not too sure how long the AI are intending to take their hard compound tyres, but you'd imagine it would be between now and lap 35 that they'd be boxing, because I imagine everyone is going to, well, yeah, everyone has to do a 2-stop here. So you want to maximize the time that you're on the quicker tyres later on, these guys at the back of the grid here aren't really playing. They don't really have the track position, so they might as well box soon. But we've not really seen that much action from the AI. In fact, no one has boxed so far in this race apart from myself, at least to my knowledge. So yeah, we're just getting all this time for free. We've already made up the pit stop from where we were before, battling now the Aston Martin as we got the inside of Stroll. Stroll cuts the corner, and we try and give as much space as we can. A bit of a tank slapper on exit, and we are through now. So you remember in the first stint, we were battling with Hulkenberg. We've made our pit stop and already come out ahead of Hulkenberg with our fresh tyres after battling through everyone. So yeah, it's been a crazy old race so far. A lot of cat and mouse games. A few people have now boxed as we do a dive bomb on Leclerc. That's very cheeky at this corner. And that's actually quite telling as well, because you can never go side by side with anyone else on previous games. It looks like it's easier to go through that Monaco hairpin now, at least on my steering wheel. I'm running a wheel, by the way. I'm not on a controller. It may vary for you. I'm not too sure. We got the inside of Sainz there in the Williams. Lando Norris behind us, who has made his pit stop, is now encountering that traffic that we just overtook. But yeah, a lot of people are going to start boxing now, and that's going to open up the race for us quite massively. So the timing of which our pit stops came about, I'm actually thinking about doing a 3-stop in this race, because we boxed on lap 16, 15-ish. I imagine these mediums could do 20, 25 laps. We may have to end the race on another set of softs at the end of the race. So we dive bomb Alonso, P7. I'm thinking we go mediums next for about 20, 25 laps. Get us to about lap 50, 60, and then do an 18-lap stint on softs towards the end. And Alonso cuts the corner in an effort to avoid contact. I don't mind the AI skipping the corner like that, especially when it makes sense to do so. So I'm quite happy to see that the AI have a little bit more leverage in terms of actually making critical decisions. And those are decisions that are made for the better, I think, in my opinion. Although I do have to say, I do think that the AI are a little bit slow on F1 25. Hopefully that's something that improves over time as they gain knowledge on how they can extract the most performance out of the AI. Maybe they need to give the AI better setups. I know for a fact that the AI are a little bit lighter above 100 difficulty. They artificially make the cars lighter in order to make them a bit more potent as an opponent. But I think there's a bit more that they could do to make them more competitive. But it's certainly very much a per track basis. But anyway, getting back to this race, as you can see, we've got Alonso boxing from P3. Behind P4 is Leclerc on hard compound tyres, holding back a lot of people who were in the lead fight. And we're about 10-15 seconds ahead of those guys. Leclerc is doing me an absolute solid right now. Just like in real life, we saw a lot of the teams strategizing to get the second driver to hold everyone back so that the lead driver could build a pit stop advantage. Now, as we know, you can't really control your teammate or what your team does in terms of decisions, but our lap times are 2 seconds a lap quicker, or a second, 2 seconds quicker than Leclerc. So we're building out a massive advantage here. But Leclerc isn't doing this to help me. Leclerc is just running his own strategy, and it just so happens to be helping me. So I'm imploring Leclerc to stay out as long as possible on those hards, which don't really seem like a great race tyre at this stage. Alexander Albon has got to be absolutely fuming to see his track position, to see his race crumbling away. And it's quite ironic as well that it was Albon and the Williams were the ones who were causing that carnage in the real-life Monaco Grand Prix. So in a way, they're getting their karma back in a much smaller degree. Yuki Tsunoda on fresh tyres did manage to clear the carnage of my teammate and comes out P3, and on his fresh medium tyres is absolutely closing me down. I think I will be boxing very soon. I'm trying to stretch this stint as long as I can. I'm trying to build a tyre offset to the likes of Albon and Norris, who are on those older hard compound tyres. And I've got to say, I'm putting up a really good fight against them because, yeah, they were catching me, but not by very much. So we've stretched out as long as we can. We're going to go to our final set of mediums. And, you know, we're going to come out not too far behind the likes of Albon and Norris. We might only be about 5 or so seconds behind. The traffic is cleared. A lot of other people have boxed. And now this opens up the race for us to really charge in and close down those guys. But in order to get to them, we have to overtake Max Verstappen. It's not going to be the easiest of tasks here, but we'll do our best. Max is on the hard compound tyre. He's going to be very nerfed by that. Certainly not much performance out of that hard compound tyre today. And you can see it, just like in the Spanish Grand Prix, Verstappen on hards is no match for a driver on softer compound tyres, especially when they're new and we move up into the top 6. Russell is next. We try and go around his outside. He's getting boxed in by Norris, and sometimes when they're boxed in like that, you can go round the outside and use your traction to fly past, but Russell was just a little bit too quick on that occasion. 15% wear on the front left tyre already. We're trying to go up the inside of Russell here, down into the Nouvelle chicane, and that is job done. I could not have broke any later than what I did. Norris is now under pressure as well. We look to go up the inside into back corner, my favourite corner in F1. It's always so satisfying when you get to the second half of the lap around here in Monaco and you're really on the limit, trying to make the track as wide as you can. If you get closer to the walls, you are faster, but of course, so much more dangerous, especially when damage is involved. Round the outside of Norris, we charge our battery, round the outside, and into 4th place. 32 laps to go now, and we set our sights on Albon, who's got older hard compound tyres. This is the replay again on Norris. It was a little bit awkward with the bump that sticks out on the edge of the fence there as you approach the turning point of turn 1. Here's the Norris on board, and actually nowhere near as close as what it felt for me, because I had proximity of the McLaren on the right, but the wall on the left, which was protruding out. I don't think my angle of attack was the best through there, but we made it work anyway. Piastri looks like he's catching up to some lap cars and also struggling with the rear end in that McLaren, so I imagine Piastri might be shaping up a move into the pit lane fairly soon. I would certainly be thinking about that, taking myself out of that danger, and here I am throwing myself into danger from my own POV up the inside of Albon. That seems to be a very happy hunting ground for us. Again, when it comes to extracting the pace of the AI, I think they could be better in terms of mounting curbs. As you'll see here, we are all over this curb, which sets us up really nicely to attack the last 2 corners of the lap. So part of the reason why the AI is so slow here, there's many curbs that you need to attack around here in Monaco. Turn 1 is one of them. The swimming pool chicane is another. This Nouvelle chicane is another one where you have to fly over the curbs. And, you know, in previous games, I feel like the damage model was a lot more brutal. There was some cases where if you absolutely flew over a curb, you could get some floor damage if you're going quick enough over it. That just seems to be dumbed down a little bit, which is a shame. I feel like if you want to have the option of making the game as brutally realistic as it can be, then having those punishing extra bits of damage, I think, really makes you drive in a more realistic way. So I hope we get to a point in F1 26 where they bring back hardcore simulation damage like we've seen in the past, but I feel like maybe we could even take that a step further. Give us more damageable parts on the car. I feel like we're definitely due a damage model update. It's been so long since we've really seen any improvements to that area. We were able to damage the rear wing, and I very much nearly damaged my rear wing as I lost the back end heading into the Nouvelle chicane. I managed to catch the car just in the nick of time before hitting that outside wall on the right-hand side. But yeah, that was a bit of a scare, and that put me off for the next few laps. I'm getting blocked in by Tsunoda, who is yet to make his final stop. Piastri has boxed and put on the hard compound tyres for this last stint. So Piastri is going to be quite slow in the run-up to the end of this race. I just need to clear Tsunoda, which I hope I'm going to do now. Side by side. Tsunoda cut the corner. That is a perfect example of where cutting the corner is not okay, because Tsunoda had plenty of space and he was the car ahead. I feel like it was a little bit unnecessary from Tsunoda. If I didn't get the move done, then I felt like he should have probably gave the position back, because there was certainly an advantage that he gained by cutting the corner there. But no harm done. Tsunoda is behind us now anyway. Tsunoda still, like I said, is yet to box and is now falling into the reaches of Oscar Piastri and is holding him up. So I really need to go now as we're catching up to midfield traffic, lapping Hulkenberg, the man who we were fighting in the first stint, running back. More contact with Lawson. It's just some of these like repeating cycles of what we've had earlier. I'm coming up against the same drivers all the time, making contact with the same drivers. It's just full circle. But yeah, we're going to be boxing very soon. I don't want to do more than 20 laps on softs to see out the end of the race. I think ideally I want to be doing about 15 laps on softs, then I can really push. But Tsunoda is really doing me a solid here. He's giving me a margin to Piastri that I'm going to be able to hopefully defend from before I make my pit stop. Tsunoda now boxes, freeing up Piastri, and now this is going to be a strategy race to see who comes out on top here. Piastri has to close in a little bit. He definitely has to make sure that we don't pull away by more than a pit stop's lead. As we see a mistake from Hajar, he's completely blocking the track. This might be a safety car, which might win me the race. We'll have to wait and see. Both the Alpines are blocked in as well. I don't think there's any damage for the VCARB driver. Somehow he's actually kept it out of the wall. That is outrageous. Both the mistake, but also equally the save to gather that back up and not have any dramas with that. The gap to Piastri, 9.6 seconds. My teammate Charles Leclerc is boxing and is now actually going a lap down in this Monaco Grand Prix. So my rear gunner, only 20, 30 laps ago, was fighting me for position, and now he's a lap down. So the hard tyres are absolutely garbage in this race, at least in the hands of the AI. I can't really say for myself in this race because I've not tried them, and judging by what I've seen today, I don't think I want to try them. So the strategy today is soft, medium, medium, soft. That is what we're going to end on. 62% on the front left tyre, and the rear is really starting to go now. It's getting to a point where if we stay out any longer, we're going to leave ourselves with too much to do for the last 10 laps of this race, and Piastri will start closing me in even further. So in we come, the soft compound tyres, a bit slow on the front left there, 2.9 second stop. Can't really complain too much. We're still going to emerge in P2. We have jumped Yuki Tsunoda, who I do wonder whether he got held up in some traffic, because that's interesting. Tsunoda stopped a few laps ago, but wasn't able to get into my pit stop window. So that's a massive opportunity missed for Red Bull and for Tsunoda to not block me off to get P2 in this race. But now we are clear to race. We are clear to attack. And coming out of the pit lane, I want to say we were only 8-9 seconds or so behind Oscar Piastri. But now we have some clear air. This is our fastest lap of the race, and I want to show you it in its entirety. It's still, it's not the perfect lap. There were certainly a lot of mistakes, some suboptimal moments, but please forgive me. I'm racing on a default setup and my first race at Monaco. So, yeah, bear that all in mind with a pinch of salt. If we come back to this race in the future, then it's certainly going to be a much more polished lap. I really nailed that middle sector there, or the last few corners where I really mounted the curb just before Portier. Now coming into the Nouvelle chicane, this is where I love to make up a lot of time. Third gear through here, really mount the car over the curb, get it rotated on the power nice and early. Heading through to back now, up to 6th, downshift to 5th to get the rotation on the power super early. Didn't use all the track width there. I don't really feel the need to push the limits too much. We've got a pretty sizable advantage in terms of car pace, so I don't really need to risk the car to catch Piastri. It's almost a certainty that we're going to catch him. The question is, are we going to pass him? In order to pass him, I want to make sure that I've got tyres to do so, as we said, a 12.8, and like I said, the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Leclerc next, and he should be pulling out of our way as we lap him on track once again. He did unlap himself by us having our pit stop. I'm not lapping him twice, just thought I'd clarify that. Stroll getting in the way, but pulls out of the way just in time. 1 second is the gap from ourselves to Piastri, and we have 7 laps to pull this off. My tyres are still absolutely fine, by the way. Not if I keep doing that. But our tyres are in pretty good shape, and As long as we have a decent amount of battery charge, we should have the platform, the foundations to give a big challenge to Piastri. Through Portier, a big traction corner, second gear, straight up into overtake in the slipstream of the McLaren. You can see from the rear end of Piastri, there's nothing he can do. Trying to block the inside, he goes back to the racing line. We go up the inside into the Nouvelle chicane and leave as much space as possible for Piastri on exit, trying to keep it nice and fair, and that is job done. Into the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. Who says you can't overtake at Monaco? And there we go, Piastri even cutting the corner, trying to keep that battle alive, but the tyres, the delta is just far too great for Piastri to have any assault on us, any comeback for us. Even as we get to the dying laps of this race and my tyres do start going off, they're just not going to be anywhere near the condition that the softs can offer. So that was the race, really. 78 laps of Monaco. Early on, it did look like a formality that Piastri was going to win this race, but I think when they went to the hards, it really just kind of fell downhill a little bit. There was somewhere in the middle of the race when we did our extra stop. We're doing a 3-stop race. We found clear air where the AI possibly didn't. They ran into traffic and we just stole this race from everyone. The horns are going off from all the boats as we round the last couple of corners to see off this race, nearly putting it in the wall and just overdriving, having some fun on this last lap in an effort to try and maybe go for fastest lap, but I think at this point the tyres are well past their best. Out of the last corner, we win the Monaco Grand Prix.
Checkered flag.
I need a cold drink, mate.
And Lewis Hamilton, cold as ever. You wouldn't be able to tell that he just won the Grand Prix. He wants a drink. He wants a beer. He's done his job.
You always look back at a race like this and think, if I'd just made that mistake there or locked up here, there would have been contact. And every one of those overtakes is a moment where you have to absolutely nail it, perfect it, and that's exactly what they're able to do today. Great stuff indeed.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd. It's time for our podium celebrations. And back on the top spots that he's taken so often in the past. So well done to Lewis Hamilton.
I really hope this is a sight we see for Ferrari, for Lewis Hamilton, before he retires. I really want to see Lewis win for Ferrari, and I hope that he can turn his form around in real life. That would be the perfect way to send off his career. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 2026. I would love to see him get an 8th title as well. But, you know, there's only so many titles that can go to a driver. There's only so many years. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. That was the Monaco Grand Prix. Let me know what you thought of everything you've seen today. If you've got any questions about F1 25, let me know down in the comments. That was a good bit of fun. Like I said, some key points from today. Dirty Air being quite strong. This wasn't the best showcase for that. But there are certainly some tracks where Dirty Air is very, very strong in high-speed corners. AI are a little bit slow. I didn't touch upon the handling too much, but it's something I'm very much enjoying with F1 25. The tyre model is fantastic. I really love the strategy of F1 25. And I guess you'll just have to keep watching my videos to see what else I think about F1 25. That's it from me today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.